All right, welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. We're going to finish off another one of the stamp sketches from the previous week. I think it was last Friday that I did these. We finished off two of the photo stamping pieces, mostly alcohol inks. I really like how these turned out with those light beams in here. And we're going to apply some more light beams into this one. This one is on the semi-gloss cardstock. And then here's another one that we finished off. Just a real simple finish on this one with the black colored pencil, creating the deeper shadows, elongated shadows, more dramatic shadows on the wood grain paper. And I really like that one too. These are coming out really fun, and they're fun to create and watch develop. All right, now on this one right here, I imagine some light beams coming across here and adding some visual drama into the piece. We have a slope right here created with the sedge filler, some sand dunes in the distance there, and I want to create some distance in terms of the separation of all these spaces in here. And then let's add in some additional drama into the piece. So I'm not sure how I'm going to approach this one. That's the general concept right now. But how it ends up developing, will be whatever. I don't know if it's new to me, but it'll be something, I don't know, something that I can kind of only anticipate up to a certain point. Okay, so I'm going to make this kind of a really springtime type of scenario here, especially with the quote that I've added into this. We want a really alive and vibrant looking springtime in the desert type of scenario. A lot of people that haven't been to the deserts before tend to think of the Gobi Desert, or like the Sahara Desert with vast sand dunes and nothing growing in there. Okay, which that's not the it's not the deserts in the U.S. at least. So especially around this time of year with the springtime blooms, as with a lot of rain, it can really get pretty vibrant out there. And we're still getting some rains, but I don't know if it's a super bloom this year, but I think it might be in some areas. But everything's looking really vibrant out there, and it's really nice. Hello, Linda. All right, so let's see. I added the figure in here just now, along with the quote, and I did it with stays on ink, just because I know I'm going to be going over this with some dye-based inks right away. Everything else has been stamped in dye-based ink, okay? So as far as media goes on this semi-gloss paper, we're going to be using some dye-based inks, colored pencil, and I might go into it in some areas with some alcohol inks, but I'm going to be careful not to go over the stays on impressions with alcohol inks, because that could potentially put those back into solution and smear them. All right. Now everything else has been sitting around for a week, so I don't think I should be getting any kind of smearing when applying some additional dye-based inks over the dye-based ink impressions, okay? So let's just start with that. We'll go with the blue and gray kind of sky, like it's kind of like a rainy type of day or something like that. I need to create some contrast in the background here in order for the light beams to really show up. You put white light beams over kind of a really super light or white background, they're not going to show up at all. So we need to add some tones into the mix, and then we'll go with some green tones down here, maybe some brown right in here, and we'll do a kind of a brownish reddish type of backdrop with that craggy mountain range in the distance there. Hello, Cynthia, how are you? All right, so let's take a look in there and see how this is going to go. All right, so I need to keep some areas a little bit lighter though, keeping these light beams in mind. And I was trying to decide where I want the beams to be coming from. If I go, that seems to be the natural place right there, because that's just, I don't know, one of the clouds stamped out lighter. So I just kind of go like that, Oh, what about this? I can have it like off page. It's easier if I do it on page, but we can have some light beams coming from, and then see where there's this lighter area right here in the clouds. I can have like some additional beams coming like this way. So they can be emanating from this area like that. All right, so I think we just decided right there, or I did. I hope you're well, and I hope you had a good week there. I'll take a look at some of the new designs here after I finish this piece off. I'm gonna be busy with the new designs here coming up, so I wanted to finish all of these stamp sketches here. I really like when I get all these stamp sketches done and I can just kind of concentrate on some of those little details that I like adding into the scenes. You know, the shadows and the highlights and lighting. It gives these pieces a lot of kind of the emotion, I guess. And that's what I really like adding into my pieces. That's the part that I really enjoy kind of doing. You know, the scene building too. I mean, I enjoy that, especially if I put together compositions that I haven't seen before. But I really like adding in those little details into the mix with lighting and highlights and I don't know, little kind of unexpected types of things like I don't know, these days it's like things like glitter. I never thought I'd hear like that, something like that coming out of my mouth. Only not because I was anti-glitter or anything, but like I just haven't really used it very much over the years. Okay, so I'm trying to make this into a really fast process right here by just adding in a lot of the grays and establishing kind of light and shadow and contrast in here. We're going to try to oscillate this a little bit. It's all, you know, just stamped on white pieces of paper. So I'm adding some additional tone up here in areas, okay? So we're trying to kind of create a, you know, what they call it, like a checkerboarding type of effect right here. It's not in blocks or any like squares, but we're going with a little bit of tone here that I've laid down here, okay? I'll make it a little bit more distinct here. So we're going light, or darker, lighter, darker. See lighter right here, a little bit darker and lighter like that, okay? And you can do the same thing going left to right as well if it makes sense, you know. If it doesn't, then you don't do it, you know. And it doesn't have to be, everything doesn't have to be even or anything like that. You can have a, you know, it could be dark and light and dark here in the foreground too, you know. Just as long as things are kind of oscillating a little bit, it makes for a more varied surface, and they're potentially richer, you know. And I said potentially because you know, it has to make sense for the scene, and there's just so many different ways to do it too. Things that you can have dark, you can reverse it and make, you know, these could be light right here, and you can put the dark behind it. So just as long as it's kind of varying a little bit. Or a lot, you know, that'll do the trick. Hello, Patty. How's the packing going, Patty? We're having more rain today. It's kind of chilly here. But as soon as it was kind of like showers today, so when like clouds would go by, it felt like, I don't know, it was probably in the 60s, but it felt like, I don't know, high 70s or something like that, with the sun. And as soon as the sun goes behind the clouds, it seemed like it dropped, you know, like 20 degrees or something like that. But out here in California, we love that rain, you know. All right, so anyways, so adding that tone in there, okay, you can kind of see kind of the lighting scheme coming about right here a little bit. I'm not going to do everything with the dye-based inks because I'm going to spend a little bit more time with the colored pencils here. Hello, Cecile. Good to see you. Hello, Vintage Crap Girl, Christine. Glad you like the new stamps. If you guys have seen them, I'll show them here in a bit. You know, they're up on whatever, Facebook and the website and stuff like that too. But yeah, I've been busy doing that this last month and a half or so. So the new stamps, I'll show you here if anyone hasn't seen them, but these are the plate layouts like this. But these 4 cabins right here were that I've always kind of wanted to update certain things, certain designs, and the lakeside cabin, I just wanted to give kind of a new take on that. And then I started developing those 4, not really expecting to release them all. But then as I was working on them, I thought, well, these are all kind of different enough. Then I made 2 of them kind of interior lit, and, you know, to make them a little bit different from one another. And I thought, okay, this isn't 1 plate, this is 2 plates, and I wanted to release them all. But then that gave me the opportunity to add in a lot of other types of images that I've been thinking about for, you know, some of them like thinking about for 25 years, and those koi fish. And the koi fish were something that I just didn't get around to with the Mystic series too, but I thought those koi would be cool swimming around in the lake in the shallows near us, and I don't know. Like I said in my descriptions of these, I've always liked figures like looking out into scenes, like this writer's going out that way, you know, as opposed to coming out of it. They're going into it. So things like those hammocks and, I don't know, just other types of takes on figures on, you know, vessels with the paddle borders, something like that. All right, so anyways, going back to this, here's some more lighting right here. And remember, this I'm kind of setting it for the, setting this up for the light beams in here. I mean, everything is about the imagery right now, but like I said in the previous videos, I tend to think that you know, when we add in those light beams, they really become an integral part of the scenery, if not dominant visual themselves. I mean, they would compete, I think, when I add it in here, unless I do them really subtle, they'll compete for the kind of initial attention with quotes and figures like, you know, these little figures like these types of figures like this, you know, the eagle, you know, the buzzard, or vulture, and a figure like that, and the quote, I mean, that's naturally going to draw our attention in there. But when you get those light beams in there, I think that makes for a pretty dramatic, striking visual, and it would compete for the initial attention, at least, of the viewer. So hopefully it makes it nice and interesting, you know. Okay, so I added in some of that gray. I'm going into some of this blue now. I'm going to add the blue into this ground cover as well, because green, browns added to that will warm it up, but blue is a component of green, and I'm adding in just a really light version of it. So what that'll do is it'll bring continuity between 2 of the dominant spaces in this piece, meaning the sky and the ground down here. Even if I cover up all of the blue down here, it's still going to have, you know, a base of, you know, a common hue here. All right, so go like that. "24 more days, huh?" All right. The memento inks are pretty light in value. Let me see if I have, you know, I just remembered, yeah. I don't know if it's like the perfect color for it, but it's the perfect in name here. I totally forgot about desert. I'm digging down. I have like all my memento inks in like one pile. Here's desert sand right here, so a little bit of a warm tone. I tend to forget about that one. I always think about antique linen with the distress inks when it comes to a really pale tan color. Let me see before I stack all these up. Let me make sure that I have everything that I want. Okay, I've got pads falling around everywhere. Okay, so let's go with the desert sand in here. Let's bring a warm tone into this base area. Into this whole bottom section probably. Glad you like them, everyone. Hopefully, you know, when you look at the imagery, and it sounds like it is for you guys here, you know, when you look at the new imagery, hopefully it's, you know, just looking at them, you know, if you're a stamper, scenic stamper, there's some people that watch the channel that aren't stampers at all, but hopefully, you know, you start building pieces in your mind. And that's what some of these do for me as I'm designing them. Like, even if it's without these cabins right here, but can you imagine this moon behind those cabins like this, or this little figure like this looking across like an ocean or something like that with that moon kind of rising. We've needed a really large moon like that for a while. But stuff like that, or, you know, someone, you know, in a hammock in front of that rising moon or something like that would be pretty, I don't know, what, you know, evocative, I think. When I started doing some of these pieces, I mean, I guess I've thought about it over the years, but and it seems like the, you know, the female figure in scenes, all of this is an old man right here in this one, but I don't know, it seems to be kind of historically more of a kind of an evocative type of visual, you know, than some dude in there. For certain types of moods, like, you know, you look like Maxfield Parrish, you know, those illustrators, or there was these pictorialist photographers that always had figures, these female figures in scenes, you know, landscapes, and I don't know, maybe it's more poetic, you know, I guess. So we've added more of those. All right. So can you see that little, you know, warm tinge right there? So that's a really good kind of color right there, desert sand. I need to not forget about that. You can get that hue down here. Now I'm retaining some of the white too. Okay. I don't know how much of the white I'll be retaining once I go over it with colored pencils, but I'm going to try to retain some of it because I'm going to have these white light beams kind of shining into the, you know, in the scenery. And since I'm using some white ink, it'd be a good idea to use, or to retain some white reflective light. I mean, it's not light, but, you know, that, you know, if you leave some white in there, it represents white light hitting those areas like that. So, you know, try to retain some of that, even if it's just a tiny little bit, you know, it just helps with, you know, white pigment ink embellishment. Oh yeah, that's right. I love Monterey. I used to like going to Monterey and going to the back in the 80s. I think I was a senior in high school when that Monterey Bay Aquarium's built, and that was like a 2.5 hour drive for me from where I grew up on the central coast of California. But my friend, I don't know, it amazes me that her parents let us do this, but my friend saw a photograph of it in some magazine, and it's like, hey, I want to go there. It's like, what? You know, we're going to drive like, you know, 2.5 hours, you know, it's a day trip or something like that. But I don't know, his parents were fine with it, and since his parents were fine with it, me being the youngest child and had a lot more leeway, than my brother and sister probably would have. My parents are like, "Yeah, go ahead, go." So we went up to that Monterey Bay Aquarium, and I think I went with another friend of mine the following year for I don't know. Our excuse was just, we're going to take photos for our, photography class. So we took photos up down that kind of Big Sur coast. Actually, I went up there 3 times, kind of between maybe my junior and senior year. But yeah, I love that area. I haven't been back there in years, though. Okay, let's go in with some additional Bahama Blue. I don't want to do too much up here, but I think since I stamped those clouds out in, it was either this or the Marvy light blue, the number 10 light blue. It was probably this one, though. I just want to bring in some of that additional tone up here to blend that in a little bit more. It's blending in pretty decent with the other lighter tones, grays and everything like that, but blending it in with the same color that you stamped them out of is, that's going to be the greatest, or the greatest, blending possibility, using its own color. So let's do it really nice and methodically, because I don't want it too dark. Yeah, it looks like it's not going to be a precarious color to add. These Memento inks are kind of thicker inks than my Marvy inks, okay? All inks are thicker than Marvy, so you can really blend those out pretty nicely, even if it's on a fairly absorbent paper like semi-gloss, And here I already have a lot of the tone already, applied underneath it, so, it's not 8 degrees and inside the house here and really dry, so my inks aren't drying really fast. The the base coat colors that have been added down, but see that kind of blend right there and that tone kind of moving in there like that. Some people ask, this is just a paper towel that I'm using. You can use other types of sponges. It's preferable, in my mind, to use a nice absorbent type of applicator when adding your inks down. If you're doing it in this manner, if you're doing like really light additions, then those kind of cosmetic, brushes work okay. But it takes a lot longer to use those ones because they wick moisture. They're not absorbent because they're designed for dry media. They're designed for makeup and not wet makeup. So anyways, okay, so that is the blue. This is getting there a lot faster than I thought it would. I think I'm going to start on with my colored pencils here. Or here, let me get a little bit of tinge of some base coats in some of the detailed areas, where this isn't really, ideally suited for, getting like specific little areas. Doesn't just go over to your dye-based markers, your alcohol markers, or anything like that. When are the new stamps of it? Well, the new stamps will be available. I'll probably be getting them in midweek. My rubber guy will probably be getting them over the weekend. And he'll probably start pressing them. He has to inspect the plates too. So as long as the plates look fine, and my engraver got everything, perfect, which they usually do. I think like 1 in 100 plates over the years have had a little tag on there or something like that just something got on the plate during the etching process. But as long as the plates are fine, he'll start pressing things. And I've been taking pre-orders for them, so I know how many, roughly how many to order on my initial order. And I'll get those out to him on Sunday for him to start pressing them on Monday. And then, I don't know, he'd probably ship on Tuesday, I'm guessing, or Wednesday. So something probably mid to late this next week, or when I'll start shipping, I guess. Oh, yeah, that eclipse, huh? Now, when is the eclipse? What day is that? Who asked me about the eclipse? Was it you, Patty, last time? You know, someone asked me about an eclipse stamp, and I didn't even know about the eclipse that was coming, you know. I thought it was this last week, too, when I was reading those reports. It's not going to hit very much in California, though, I think. It was like a 30% or something like that, or I don't know what it was. But still, I love the lighting outside during eclipses. It just has that weird tinge to it. Okay, so just going on with a couple of those really light tans in here. Do you see what I'm doing on the mountain range here too? I'm oscillating darks and lights, okay? Usually if it's a kind of a darker area in the design, I'm adding a little bit more tone, okay? But just as long as you kind of illuminate so it's a little bit darker, lighter, darker, you know, lighter, darker, light, dark, light, you know what I mean? It just gives a little bit more variety to the piece, and it makes things look less flat. Just like this illuminated area down here, what we're saying is that this area right here isn't just like a flat plane, you know, there's a slope to it. There's, you know, variations to the grass height, that type of thing. And like I said, you don't have to like struggle like, oh my God, you know, where should I add the light? Oh, should that have been light? And that should have been, you know, it's not like that at all. You just kind of, you know, you just vary it, you know, from one area to the next, and that will be good. You know what I mean? Now, I'm in this area in here, you know what I mean? I'm not going to make this area completely dark behind the quote because we have to be able to read the quote, you know? And like this area behind this figure, if you want your figures to stand out, then you don't make it like dark behind them, you know, unless it's supposed to be like a Halloween design or something like that. We want them kind of coming out of the shadows, and we're going to add in some glowing, you know, evil eyes to it. You know, then do that. But, you know, otherwise, you know, it doesn't really matter too much. Okay, now I'm just going on to some gray. Just, you know, I'm kind of adding in some additional tone, you know, to where I added in that lighter one, okay? And it just, I just slowly get it a little bit darker in there. But see that? Yeah, so now I'm looking at that range right there. I think it looks a little bit more varied. You know what I mean? I feel the, you know, you know, the depth of those mountains now a lot more. You know, just with that little bit that I just added in there. Okay, let's do the same thing. Like in this grassy area, I'll just kind of add in a little bit of a shadow variation. Here's a shadow underneath our figure. Let's just elongate that a little bit. And this area on the dunes, we can add in a little bit of tone like that. Or it's not tone, but shadow to it. I'm going to add in the shadows on this cacti with my colored pencils just for a little bit more control. I keep saying this over and over, you know, it's like more for the, like the beginner stamper, but see, I'm just kind of making things a little bit darker at a time. So, I mean, you can barely see any changes that are happening with a lot of these editions. It's because I'm just going like, you know, on my value scale, I'm just kind of taking a little bit darker each time. I'm not doing this like jump from here to this, you know what I mean? If it was, you know, a round kind of pie chart or something like that. So you can just take a look. Now see, that one's getting a little bit darker than that gray right there. Okay, so I'll be a little bit more careful about that. I'll test it in kind of a darker area. It's a little bit dark right in there. So I'll just add like little bits like that, okay? Because that's a big, bigger jump. And then what I'll do is I'll go back to, I don't know, where'd that pen go? I'll go back to that pen that I just used. And since this is alcohol ink, I'll just kind of blend that out a little bit so that it's a lighter version of this one and somewhere in between these two right here, okay? It doesn't blend perfectly, but it blends enough. Because the paper is fairly absorbent. Hubby hangs his hammock on our boat dock. He's asleep. That's awesome. So those hammocks too. I'll talk about those hammocks and ways to hang it. But yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to. I'm really looking for. I'm always looking forward to using the news. Any new designs. But it's kind of nice to, to verify if, the this is a pale green, by the way, if the imagery is going to be as effective as you would hope, when you're designing these things. Usually, they're more effective because I see, people using them in ways that I never imagined, And I love that. I'm seeing like the desert imagery, used in all kinds of different ways and different angles and things like that, and especially in combinations with other stamps. It's really been awesome. All right, here's a little bit of brighter, kind of warmer green like that. Okay, you see that? That in there. Let's bring some of this into shadows right in here. Let's do this too. Let's have this range right here in the background a little bit warmer with some green tones. I don't want it to have the same kind of value though. I want it kind of paler. So what I'll do is I'll blend that out. Here's a kind of a real pale green right here. But I just looked at, a picture of those Superstition Mountains. Someone sent it to me. It's either they sent it to me or they tagged me in a photograph of the Superstitions, just right outside of Phoenix area Mesa that you can see in the distance. And it was like so green. I was mentioning this in a previous video, but it was like, I don't know if it was this green, but almost like a super bright green. It's a type of green that, if I used it in a scene in some desert scenario, they would say, hey, that's not realistic. All right, here's a little bit of an olivey green for my foreground. We'll try to make this foreground a little bit brighter. That. Okay, and I knock that down a touch. I'll add some shadows at the base of the range. About like so. Oh, the petting pools at the aquarium. I remember those, yeah. I was just watching part of Star Trek 4, the movie. Has anyone seen that with the humpback whale scenario? And that's right there at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. All right, should that be enough? I think that's it. I think that's all I'll do with the dye-based inks and pens. Let's get to some colored pencils. I'm a big colored pencil fan these days. Well, actually, over this last, I don't know, couple years maybe. Barely used them over, the first, I don't know, whatever, 25 years of stamping. So it was nice to be able to kind of dip into, some supplies from my school days. I think they were required. I don't know now. I think they were required in beginning drawing, but then we did, we might have used them for like one assignment or something like that. It always kind of irked me when they had like a supply list with a bunch of things in there. And it's like, if there was a kind of a costly one, but we like used it like once, for one, assignment. Because when you're like a college student, it's not like you're, you're not rolling in dough. All right, so there's some of that green. It's kind of coming alive a little bit right in here. I just put in a really kind of light, layer of that. And then let's start developing some of their, I guess I have to start considering where those light beams are going to go. So we'll put the light beams kind of right here, maybe emanating from this area. I'll do it maybe right here. Okay, because I can see kind of the edge of that cloud cumulus. Okay, so if that's it, okay, so I'm gonna, okay, I can't see that at all. Let's create, here, I'll go all the way to black right here. Maybe that's too dark, but kind of create those shadows right in here. I would normally do it in dark green, but I can't even see it. All right, see those kind of shadows like that. All right, and you just kind of angle. You guys are probably sick of hearing shadow theory. But I'm angling all these shadows. The angle is kind of based on the location of the vanishing point, okay? But, okay, now this isn't supposed to be flat, it's supposed to be this rounded surface and slope. So I'm doing the shadows again that are kind of more like this shape right here than like a straight shape going directly from those objects. So right over here, it's going like this, and just kind of generally kind of aim them kind of in that direction. Then you have those nice kind of lighting conditions right there. And the shadows are going to be different kind of lengths based on where you can see them, where they're located within the scenes, but you don't have to know anything about that. You just kind of fake it. So, like me, I just kind of put things in, that general direction like that. Okay, let's do the same. Okay, is there going to be shadows on these fence posts like this? Okay, let's see. It's practically vertical like that. It's just this tiny angle right here. And we have, we have the bushes right here, so I guess let's add a little bit down like this. You can add them or not. There's all this stuff kind of blocking it off, so we can't really see it. Okay, let's go like that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe those do matter. This one, there's a tarantula in the way. Okay, let's see. Let's go like this. All right, so see those shadows in there? I don't know. It kind of adds to the whole kind of feel of the piece. Let's go back and add a few more shadows into our rocks. Now that I've kind of designated where the light beams are going to go, then maybe like this slope over here, on the other side of the range might be a little bit darker. And okay, so on that range, it's the right side. On the left side of this kind of butte right here, we'll do some additional shading on there, just to reiterate that idea of kind of light direction on there. Like that. We'll bring it alive too with some wildflowers. You showed the bulb makeup sponges. Guessing you didn't like them. I do like them. In fact, I still have it right here. But on something like this, I want a little bit more control. If I'm using something that has a lot of coverage, okay, I really like this because it's this wide of a shape right here, okay, for applying. But if I'm going in and out of things, like I had to get like underneath this, then see, this is like the shape of my finger, so there's like a smaller surface area. It shows this right here, but I'm mostly using this little bit right here because it's like the tip of my finger. So this is like finger painting in many ways, you know, but you're limited to the size. I mean, I can pinch this in and I go for kind of narrower applications like this sometimes. But this is fairly absorbent because it is a sponge, okay? So it does take up a decent amount of ink. And if I have a big area, you know, a big area with just general, you know, filler or something like that, then that would be perfect. So you use things for, I don't know, whatever the, you know, the main purpose that you intend them for. So a wider area, you know, would be good with that thing. One thing that I don't do though, because I don't have like 12 of those, is that I probably went to black on this one and I didn't wash it off. So if I was using black, I would use this one. But if I had like a yellow and green or something like that, then I would switch sponges and I would designate one for a specific hue, you know, like yellow and browns and black, you know, blues, something like that. That's what I used to do with the color box stylus tools too. Okay, here's a little bit of brown in here. We need to bring this area right in here to life with some additional whatever variation value changes. Yeah, let's use it for those sand dunes as well. All right, so that area down here looks a little bit better. Let me see if I have like a warmer brown. Yeah, this one right here is a little bit of a warmer brown. Start off in your shadow areas and kind of develop those with that, you know, these colors anytime you change hue. That's what I'd recommend. Unless you're really familiar with, you know, a certain medium and the colors and how they look over the tops of other colors, you know. Okay, and that I say that so you don't go into these open areas like that and then eradicate all of your lighting. Like I'm getting a little bit limited with the areas of light right in here because I've kind of developed those, you know, the area too much, which happens with my grassy areas. A lot of times they get a little bit kind of muddled, but that's where I go back in with the paint pens. So sometimes, in the name of layered color richness, it gets a little muddy, but then that's where you just bring back, you know, kind of crispness with things like these paint pens and that type of thing. All right, let's go with a little bit more vignetting right here. Speaking of layers, I go a little bit darker in the corners right here. I can't go back and add in dye-based inks at this point in time because this is has the alcohol inks over the top of it, and then now it has wax on it, so my water-based dyes aren't going to stick to that area like at all anymore. Alright, so see that? You make it a little bit darker in the corners like that. It starts to frame things off a little bit more. And the darker you make any area of your scene, especially in the coloring process, the lighter the lights are going to seem by contrast. All right, so my dye-based inks aren't going to work in here anymore, but now I look at this, it wouldn't be bad to have an additional layer of like that grassy reeds in here. It might look cool. Let me try that. Okay. Now the stays on, of course, will stick to anything, so. So additional layering. The reeds are a little bit higher than the winter brush, which is down there. So the winter brush just becomes another kind of textural shape, which is good. Okay, so we have that. Oh, it looks a little bit deeper right here in the foreground. It's not quite as like deep a foreground as yours, Jeannie. Jeannie, if she's still on, she uses like, I don't know. There's like 50 images down here in like the first like 2 inches of the scene. There's not that many, but it seems like it sometimes, you know, in terms of the amount of layering that's in those pieces. Welcome back to Stamping, Jeannie. Jeannie stamped out her first piece in a while. What, you know, rehabbing. So if we could share that in there, you know, Jeannie. She sent me the JPEG of her piece. Didn't miss a beat too, you know. How long has it been, Jeannie? Like a month or so, or has it been longer than that? A month and a half, 2 months. A little bit more shadows down here. I'm kind of not really extending them, but I'm just kind of getting the shadow a little bit darker right next to, you know, the cactus. That's creating the shadow. Okay, so see those right in there a little bit more. All right. Let's add in that those little highlights in here. But yeah, the petting pools at the aquarium. Fun stuff. Stingrays. The last time I was at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, okay, we're talking about like decades ago, the jellyfish exhibits were fairly new. Hello, Bill. Oh, you got porch pirates, huh, Christine? You can, you know, you can just email me or something like that, or if you ordered, you know, you can just tell me to, I can hold your order, you know what I mean? You know, until you get back. Okay, I won't spend too much time in this because I don't know if you'll be able to see these little highlights added in here. I'm kind of doing like lighting with this right now on the tops of the like tufts of the grass in here. All right, I'll add in the like the spring blooms in here shortly. You'll be able to see that more. But let's get some of these highlights in here a little bit, or just that textural, I don't know, whatever contrasts. All right. Okay, so see that right in. You see this area right in here? It's kind of this. I mean, it's rich in tone, but it's not really varied. So I'm just adding that little kind of sparkly touch a little bit in there. All right. Aren't porch pirates terrible? I watch those videos sometimes, or I don't watch them. I've watched them in the past where people like set up like porch pirate like traps, sometimes I don't know if they're real, that sometimes someone did like a glitter bomb in them, or they have like this thing where someone picks up the package and it's like hooked on this wire that sets off this blank, like shotgun shell sound from the inside. It shows these people like picking up these boxes and this explosion going off, and then like stumbling onto the grass or something like that. All right, this is white right here. Adding in some of these highlights. I love adding these highlights on the fence post like this. Okay, now see where this fence post against that green background like that. I mean, it stands out enough, but if you put a little bit of a highlight, I have highlights on the design themselves, but it just becomes green in the highlight. So this is where you just kind of, reclaim that lighter area like that. And right here too. Okay, so I stamped that fence right over the top of that saguaro tree, but you can kind of see the saguaro going through the fence if you look real close right in here, because these fence posts aren't solid. I have it varied in terms of there's a little bit not the post, but the whatever you call these rungs or whatever. It's a little bit darker on the base, and it goes lighter up there like that. So if you put this highlight now on, this fence, then it really looks like the fence is now in front of that saguaro, even more so. Okay, let's see this right here. Like if I look closely, I can see that saguaro going through that fence impression. But again, you just kind of add in these like highlights like this, okay? And that reclaims kind of or kind of reestablishes the, the fact that, this is a closer image to us. Okay, so see that little white line on these two right in front of that saguaro. It's a little bit more dimensional like that. And let's go into the fun here. So let's go with, let's keep this pretty simple right here. I'm going to go with, let me see. I do have an orange. Okay, yeah. Let's put it in oranges, I think. That'll stand out against that green really nicely. Or, no. Let's do yellows. I think that's the color that I saw in that photograph. And I also have two values of yellow here too. I don't know if I want to, these are pretty thick, bold pens, but here's some of the 0.7 millimeter pens as well. Maybe something like this. Yeah. Okay, here we switched from orange to yellow right here. I've seen this driving out to that Mesa, Arizona convention. I think the Mesa, Arizona convention goes off, I think it might be this week, like tomorrow. It's either that or it's, maybe it's next week. Yeah, maybe it's next weekend. But it's like you might look at like a range in the distance and like, I don't know, that might be 5 to 10 miles or something like that from the car on the interstate. And between the interstate and those distant ranges, it was like all yellow in there. Or there might be like big patches, but you can see that yellow on those slopes. It was really pretty amazing in some of these years with a lot of rain. You might be watching the solar eclipse on the internet, Bill. Hello, Sharita. Yeah, so the pre-order price should be going on. I don't think I'll remove that until I get, I'll place an order with my guy, but I think until I get the stamps in, that's usually when I, change the prices. So we're talking about probably more like midweek, like Wednesday or so, I'm guessing. Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. Okay. Sometimes I'm processing orders and I don't get around to changing the code, So, that pre-sale prices last, sometimes in the past a little bit longer, but. All right, so let's see. Let's start off with these little larger ones, and I'll put some of these right here in the foreground. I don't know how different these two will be here, but okay. Here's the thing about these pens right here. Not all these pens are the same. Sometimes the media, the materials are pretty similar, like these pens down here. But I've had some pens that are a little bit thicker and more opaque, which I love using, okay? They're better in terms of quality, but in terms of longevity, some of the paint pens that are like super nice and they have a higher pigment to binder ratio, meaning they're more opaque, you get a stronger color, especially over the top of other colors, and they don't show through. But on like one of those that I really loved, I went back to use the pens, but there was just so much pigment instead of them being a little bit more watery, and it just dried on the tip there, and you had to really kind of scrub them off and get that acrylic paint to bust through, before you could start using it again, so everything hardened after, that first usage. So, something can be said with some media. Having it a little bit more watery is better, there's less pigment in it, so I know there's that trade-off in there. I don't know if it's with all, brands or something like that, but it was certainly the case with this other brand that I tried out briefly. So if anyone got, I was thinking one of the pieces where I kind of tweaked like an existing design and I added stronger acrylic paint touches with it. I think Jeannie, you won that one in the auction. I was thinking that scene is like the best, scene that's ever going to be with paint pens. You know what I mean? Because those paint pens didn't last after that. But I got these really strong, really bright, opaque touches of color on there. These ones go on kind of bright like that, but then they dry a little bit more transparent. So, the background is gonna, the background color is gonna show through a little bit more. When dry, you might even be able to see a difference, sitting here, as I'm doing this. Okay, so I'm kind of clustering some of these yellow dots. I wasn't quite sure how much I was going to use with this larger 3mm pen, but yeah, I'm able to get some pretty good variation there. That looks a lot better, doesn't it? With the addition of this yellow, it kind of really brought it to life, I think. All right, I think that's going to be a little bit too big though for those distant hills. So I'm going to go a little bit lighter. I don't know if it's lighter, but it's duller, okay, in terms of intensity of a yellow. All right, maybe something like this might even be good. This one almost looks kind of fluorescent though. Let me try this one first. I was thinking maybe I should just use this one or try it. Yeah, this one's okay. This one's barely yellowish though. Okay, I just added 4 dots right in there, and I completely got it all over my cacti. I didn't even get it in that background hill. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it looks okay. I think I need this one though. I need something a little bit brighter or more yellowy. That is pretty much the green in the pick. How many greens did we use in here, I wonder? Yeah, this is real fluorescent here, but let's see what it looks like. Again, it's going to be... Yeah, this looks... Okay, this one's one of those ones that are really transparent and watery. Maybe it's because I didn't shake this up enough. I can't hear that ball rattling around in this one very much. Maybe I haven't used it in a while. Okay, let me see. Yeah, real watery here. It looks really good on a white piece of paper, but it's really pale. Actually, it looks pretty good down here. Yeah, I think that's about right in the distance there. Nothing too like extreme. All right, should we vary it slightly? Here, let me get in a little bit of orange would be real similar here. Let's go with something a little bit different. I don't want to get too nuts with this because I want it to be like this dominant yellow kind of carpeting in here. But let's just, for a little bit of a contrast, or I don't know, whatever, color harmony, let's get a little bit of this purple in here, violet amongst the yellow. That's almost too small. Okay, yeah, that looks all right. Okay, I know you can't see that. We're on the video screen here, so let's move on from that. Here, let me try this big one here. Yeah, okay, there we go. I was like, I can't even see it, you know, right in front of me. Here we go. I'm adding more than I thought, but it's kind of a little bit obscured. So it's not real super prominent, but I don't know if you could see that right in here, a little purplish violet tinge right in there. All right, let's add then those. I almost forgot about the light beams. All right, the light beams, let's see. We'll have it coming from right here. It should really be higher up here. Okay, here. This is just going to take an extra step. It doesn't make sense to have it right there because I don't want these beams just to go like right to a point like that. I'd rather have it kind of like higher up here as my source. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I keep this roughly, you know, in the same area. Okay, and we'll put, this is our light source right here, I think. Yeah, okay. Okay, so everything is going to be emanating from there. All right. All right, don't use the jagged side of your paper right here, but, you know, go like this, and let me see. I don't have to target things too much, but we do have our figure right here, so I don't want to just have this vertical beam right here, I don't think. I might change this. Here, I'm moving this right here. I'm moving this over a little bit so I can get a little bit more of an angle right here. Let's go right here. All right, not that one. I put that there so I just don't forget. Like, with it, you know. I don't forget in like 10 seconds. All right, let me see. Here, I scraped this one last time, didn't I? Yeah. Sorry. I need to re-ink. All right, maybe I'll show you guys this. I don't put too much ink in this pad that I'm doing a lot of these light beamy types of things when we're doing mist. Okay. Now this pad is really, really dry. Okay. And I don't want a real thick slathering of ink in there because I don't want to be applying a thick slathering in this type of application here. So just, you know, just apply accordingly. Remember, you can always add more ink too. Look at that, that didn't even spread out in there. You know, this pad was so dry. Okay. All right. So if you haven't watched this before, it's going to be light beams coming in here. They call them crepuscular rays. And I try to vary the beam strength from whatever the point of, what do you call it, emanation or whatever source, and it kind of dissipates as it kind of travels through the piece. I mean, you can make it, as strong as you want, but I think it looks a little bit more graceful having it kind of varied. Okay, so I'll go like that. I'll start off with this. I'll start off over here, like about like that. Okay, now see, right in. Now I don't want to, you don't want to blur out your text. Okay, so this beam. This is a used cotton ball, by the way. I used it last time, so it's already kind of flattened out. But if you're using a brand new one, just kind of flatten it out like this after you ink up, so it's nice and flat. Okay, it's not all furry like that. Okay, let me see. Where do we go here? And am I situated? Yeah. All right, looking like that. All right, so again, I don't want to, stamp, obscure my text. So the beam is going to start like from here, okay? And we'll go across. Okay, now this beam is going to go across some, saguaros right here. I'm adding a little bit more right in here. You can't really see it because it's like white over a light area. But then as I come over here, like I didn't even put any at the base right here, okay? But see, it kind of makes for a kind of a nice beam like that. All right. If you want it's like super dramatic, then you can make it like totally opaque if you want to. But I don't do that anymore. That was more like when I was young and brash. I'm joking. I haven't done these beams too much until I don't know. I think I started doing them when I was doing the foil pieces, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so on here, let's see. Let's have it coming up right in here. It's supposed to be like coming out of the cloud, so I'm not going all the way up, on the top of the piece right here. And maybe like across some of these saguaros right in here, I'll kind of have a little bit of a kind of a lighter application right there. And then I'm going to do this where I'm kind of coming into it like that, and I'm going to kind of have it, I'll kind of reestablish the beam a little bit down here, so it's kind of oscillating between some light, no light, and then some more down here. As if, like maybe a cloud got in the way of the, part of the beam or something like that. The clouds will cast a shadow over your beams as well as objects in the landscape. Okay, so it seems like that. See, it's kind of broken up right there, like that. Okay, let me see. Let's go. Let's put a fairly wide one right here. So you change the width of your beams as well, and that's really fun to do. Sometimes when the beams get really wide like this, though, I have them, they're a weaker beam. Okay. If you ever add too much too, just take, your cotton ball and just kind of wipe it right off. This white ink isn't going to be drying really fast. Okay, that one's almost invisible right there. I don't know, maybe I need to add more. Here, I'll do this. Right. Oops, here. I need to get that angle down. Okay, let's see. I'll just do one part of the, or one side of the beam. Okay, that's implied a little. Yeah, that looks better. See, I just did a little bit thicker there. Okay, I can't twirl this around. I need to have that beam here. Okay, right here, let's do this. Okay, I'm gonna have this beam coming through here. Here, we'll do it right on our figures here. Okay, but it's going to stop right at the figure because it's going to be in front of the figures. So I'm going to be mostly applying this like right up in here. I don't know if it's going to show up at all because it's kind of white against white mostly. There's a little bit of a mountain range right there. Let me see if I can put some of this around the figure. Yeah, okay, it's dipping into some of their shadow that they're casting on the road. Let's see what that looks like. That's pretty cool. So see, this beam comes right here, and then it wraps around them, and it goes underneath them, like right there. Okay. I keep wanting to twirl this. Usually the point of emanation is right on the paper itself, but we made it off-scene this time. Okay, let's go with, let's put a little bit more separation. I want to have my beams like, we create pattern, I think, so like, it's common to have like the same exact thickness of beam, the same exact distance in between. So I have to fight against that urge and, you know, to create a little bit more variation in my pieces when doing this. I was watching this comic book inker. Has a lot of experience. I don't know how they came across their channel at some point in time, but she was doing these little dots. And she was saying, yeah, she was saying that exact thing about, you know, us creating kind of pattern and to try to have things a little bit more varied. It's like, I know exactly what you're talking about. All right, there we go, like that. And let's put another one. Let's put another beam, but going behind the slope in here. Okay. Okay, so the slope is right there. So it'll be like that. And, you know, I don't want to get that bird there covered with light because it's behind, you know, the beam's behind the object instead than in front of it. Okay, like that. Now, if I made this a little bit darker in here, I'd have some beams going in back of that range too, but it's just not going to show up. It's just too light in there. And let me put another one right back in here. See, this is a little bit darker over here, so let's put a real narrow one, and we'll put it in back of the range, or back of the slope as well, so just have it traveling, or the beam kind of traveling to that point right there, which is the cacti, like that. That's almost too strong, though. Here, let's, here, I'll just do that thing where I mentioned. You can just remove some of it like that. Okay, that's more subtle like that, okay. Okay, now remember that's going to disappear a little bit too. As it dries, it gets lighter in there. Okay, so I don't know if can you see those beams? You can see where those beams have been applied. It's because they're still wet. They're a little bit shiny, but all right. So we have those in there. Now let's mellow it out a little bit. Okay, we'll add in some more of that same type of ink application, but I'll just kind of add it around these clouds and kind of mellow out some of these beams a little bit. They're very geometric and hard-edged. Okay, so we can add some of this, especially around the point of whatever, you know, emanation, and soften that area. And it makes the clouds look softer too, like that. Okay, see that? That got a little bit hard right there with that ink, that blue ink. So I can just soften it up like that. I think the clouds look more kind of realistic that way too, okay? And that's where you retain some of the white in there, so you can go in with white right over the top of it. And let's do some like right around in here. See this little area right here? I'll push that back in the distance. A little bit of like lighting like that, like it's capturing some of the light on there. And see this edge right here? I kept that little slope a little bit light. I wasn't thinking about this, but I'm looking at it now and see I can just kind of lighten it up here so the light is coming from there. And it's changed, you know, there's light and dark in here, but it's also kind of a little bit crisper and softer up there. So you're adding a textural change to that distant objects. Now that right in there, I do like how it's darker like that to give that range variation. But having that dark shape right next to this figure right here that's crisp and closer to us and more of the subject matter, I think this will look better if I just kind of soften it and lighten it up a little bit. It's less pronounced like that. So see, this figure stands out, you know, against that background a little bit more now, just by doing that little bit of, you know, what lighting on it like that. Okay. And I'll add in a little bit of mist right in there. There's not a lot of moisture, but this is supposed, maybe this is like after it rained or something like that out in the this location out in the desert. So maybe there's a little bit of mist coming off of the ground, something like that. I'll put it around their feet too, like that. All right, so that is that. That'll be, I'll spray seal this one, I think, for those beams, probably with the Krylon spray fixative, and I'll get this matted up. But all right, so that was another finished piece here. It's similar to this one right here in terms of the theme, isn't it? This one has those more dramatic shadows in there with those fence posts and the location of the moon. And then again, here's those two other pieces with the photo stamping technique with alcohol inks, like that. I almost put this same quote on this one, but then I thought, I'm going to do those light beams. I think that quote right there is perfect for that one. But I could have used the same quote in all these pieces, I think. All right, so let's take a look at some of those new designs. All right, so, you know, daytime and nighttime cabins, they can be used for either, you know, night or day, all of them, you know, and you can have these ones in nighttime types of scenarios. The things that make these ones a little bit easier for nighttime scenarios are those illuminated interior window areas. Okay, so you can just stamp them out on a white piece of paper, and then you just retain the whiteness, or like I was mentioning in all my descriptions, you can go into it, you know, and color them in with a warm tone or something like that, and that makes them look even more inviting. You know, anytime you see like interior lit structures, and if you're outdoors, you know, looking into it, you know, it makes you want to go over there and kind of enter them. If you're not breaking in, you know what I mean? And you're, you know, it's your place and you're invited or whatever. Okay. But that being said, okay, so the way that you do that on these, you can always make these interior lit as well, but you would just kind of stamp them out. It would be kind of a pain to color this up and to remove the ink out of those small window areas. So I just do it with, if I'm going to light them with an interior, I just go in and color the little window areas with a paint pen after I stamp them out, especially if this area got dark around it and we colored it in, or if we're stamping this type of thing on top of darker paper, then you can just establish a lighter tone, you know. So on these ones, just easier because it's already, you know, established in there. These can be stamped on darker foils too, but then again, you just reiterate the open area of the windows like that, and it looks more like, you know, an occupied cabin more than, you know, an abandoned, you know, cabin that's, you know, no one's at, or they're, everyone's asleep. I tend to think that the windows kind of add to it a little bit. So anyways, they're all different too from one another. If you look at these types of things right in here. And I was working on all of them, and I kind of fell in love with all of them in terms of them being a little bit different. But these are all kind of like the new version of the Lakeside Cabin. Lakeside Cabin in relation, it's one of my favorite stamps over the years, okay? And I just wanted new versions of them. I want to stamp something like this out and put these little light highlights on the water. I want just a different look, so these ones were all created. But I was mentioning to someone I was just going to do two of these probably, and maybe two, do smaller versions of the other ones, but it just wouldn't fit on this plate really well. And then sometimes if you go too small with something like this too, the cabins would get really small. And I thought, usually when I have something like a cabin or something like that, or two different sizes of imagery, not really in the people, but I'm talking about the main structures or something like that. It seems like everyone likes the bigger ones, like several times over the smaller ones. So I just released these all in a similar size that were close to the size that I rendered them in. Okay. But okay, so all these cabins like this, it gave me doing two sets like this really allowed me to add in all these filler types of images. Okay, if I had four cabins on one plate or something like that, there wouldn't be, places for like these moons and things like that. So the moons, again, just for additional drama. I really want to use these two here with things like the seaside cove and rising over an ocean or something like that. It could really be, I see myself using it everywhere. But the way that this has been rendered is it's, kind of darker on the top and this lighter on the bottom. Okay. So that if you put in like these silhouettes, you can put these people and things like that in front of this. And that's kind of this illuminated area. So if you can have it like, someone, in a hammock looking across, the water or something like that. If you had this kind of rising up from the horizon or something like that, you can put these sailboats in here or anything like in front of it. And it's going to be really dramatic. So there's the moons like that. On this plate right here, sticking with this plate, this sailboat here is upside down because I had to put it in that configuration so that it would fit on the plate. But, kind of a darker type of scenario with these sailboats, and I did this a smaller version of it for a more distant look on that. Really strong silhouette so that we don't have to worry about, stamping that out and then masking it off and putting in the background. These more silhouettes, you can just stamp them over anything that you want. Things on the near shore. Okay, so, I wanted to do these boats, and I did two versions of it like that. Okay, like that. This one has this like anchored chain, but I imagine using like these lilies or, the reeds around here or something like this on a near shoreline type of thing. Okay. The lilies, for that near shore type of, flora scenario. And I would use those with things like, I'm sure I'm going to be using like things like my reeds, in conjunction with those lilies and the grass like that. But those little different things like that can be like a patterning around, or a foreground for, these boats. This, that lily right there would be a lot closer to us or something like that. But foreground types of things. So again, going back to that mystic type of imagery, and we can have these little fish kind of swimming around in there. So these little lilies like this and these koi right here, you can use them in any kind of lake scenario. It would be lake, that would be an invasive species if it was around these types of structures. I would get, think, but it would go really well with the mystic imagery though. I think. Can you imagine, having these koi fish like that or something like that in the shallows around like a, mystic imagery with like blooming, whatever, cherry blossoms or something like that. I think that would be really cool. So again, in that foreground, I was talking about those, like people on hammocks like that. Now on this one right here, I'd probably put it between like a couple trees, But if you don't want to obscure like the background, you want to have like her looking over, at the cabins or something like that, then you can do a thinner type of trunk or something like that. Like the birch trees, just use one tree out of the tree cluster, okay, or the grouping of those stalks. The mossy trunks that I just used would be perfect for that too. Like you can just use, like, say for example, you just color in one of these like this, and here's this, you know, trunk like this that has, that the hammock's being suspended from. Or you can just draw a couple little sticks or something like that. They have those hammock, posts, that is just like a metal rod. I might do that with something like this more than like some bigger trees, this more distant figure, have those like just drawn like a metal rod like that, just a line, give it a little bit of a thick one, for this figure sitting in this type of thing. So they have those things like for campsites and things like that, where you don't like you're not like hooking up to like a tree or something of that sort. Let me see here. Did someone ask something? I like the people who say they box up used cat litter and put it out for the pirates to see. Yeah, yeah, I've seen those ones as well, where they have videos on people doing, whatever, dog poop and those things or something like in those boxes or something like that. Glad you like it, Christine. I feel like feels like you're walking out into the desert. So again, other figures. Here's this little figure right here. This woman sitting in the shallows. You can put them in the foreground, like that figure would be going down like here, or you can have her like in a moonlight night or something like that. In the shallows or something like that. Unless that harkens to like the movie Jaws for you. It'd be really evocative and you know interesting setting. Uh, the paddle borders right here. Just, some additional forms to go on scenes. I have these more silhouette ones like this. If they're going into the sunsets, I see these cabins really great with a sunset type of scenario too. So I made them again a little bit darker on these two. This one right here, it's like closer to us though. You can have them like all going out together, you have this one right here. This one's a little bit more distant, and this one's even more distant. It'd be really cool to have like a sunset type of horizon line or something like that. I think that would be really cool. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to these. I really like this one too. This woman on this dock right here, and I think that'll be a really cool setting right here. She's in this blanket right here. Again, this is like the night, um, type of imagery, but you can have her kind of, if you have like a darker um, body of water right here, you can do like those little. Um, I have that shimmering stamp too that could be stamped in there, but you just kind of darken the imagery right around here and have that lighting coming from that. It could be coming from the cabin, or it could be coming from the moon up here, rising too, but she could be like looking across to that scenario. She's in the cabin, like right here, This is the dock for the near shoreline or something like that. But I don't know, these cabins, I don't know, these cabins too don't have to be like on a freshwater lake and have the ocean out there in the distance, a la whatever, the Pacific Northwest type of scenario. These cabins right here, you can use multiple cabins. This cabin could be right here. This one is a little bit smaller in scale, so you can have it over here on this side of the whatever lake or something like that. Those types of scenarios really remind me of the Adirondack areas of the upstate New York. That was really amazing. It's like you can drive around up there and there's all these little cabins like right along the lakes, and it was really super scenic like that too. But anyway, yeah. Um, Looking forward to using these and experimenting with them. from a designer technicals perspective. There's a lot of little textures in there, and I'll see just how much, the engraving, mold making, rubber pressing process, you know, that these tend to go through before we're making our impressions with them, which is another generation away from the originals, how that looks like. But I'm hoping that, these areas in here, or that process retains a lot of that information that I put in here, because I was really trying to make these nice and varied and deep. So you can look at the area crossed in here. So you know how I'm talking about, kind of oscillating your lights and darks in a scene like this, right? You go, you know, darker, lighter, darker, you know what I mean? So forth. I'm trying to do the same thing in these types of images like this. So that's why you're playing these contrasts against one another. So it's light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. You know what I mean? So that we inherently have a richer type of surface just in the impression. So, we don't have to even do anything, but just make, just stamp out the imagery, and we're already getting that oscillation of light and dark in here. So I was doing things like changing the values of the edges of, some of these structures in here. And I'm zooming in, like, this is what I do on like the computer. I go in and tweak these. So I blow it up to like 500% so I can get the rungs of these like balcony railings and things like that. I want those areas in there to really stand out enough. So I widen them and things like that in the whatever the digital versions of it. So even things like these boats, like here, you can see there's light and shadow against here. So I have this rail right here that's dark. This flat area is light. It goes dark like that. Some areas are a little bit more textured. The back area is a little bit darker than that. And see, this is dark on one side and light on the other. But I don't want it like white, so I try to vary it, again. So, and the same thing like this right here in the post. Here, this dock right here, it's darker on this side and it gets lighter on that side. I don't have it white because I, want it to look kind of like rustic wood or something like that. But those are all the little things that are in these designs that I try to establish for all of us, the hammock is not just one tone, it's lighter up here, even in her hat right there, it's darker right here and lighter in the back. In theory, it'd be kind of darker like this if she's facing the moon, okay? But I needed to establish a little bit of tone right there in case she's against kind of a lighter background so that her hat would show up with that darker edge to it. So I'm anticipating like light in here, you know what I mean? As opposed to like frontal light or something like that from my, looking at it from right in here. It's usually a backlit type of scenario with like a moon or whatever, sunset in a scene or something like that. So I don't want light against light. So it's going from light in the back and it gets a little bit darker like that, Stuff like that, is going on. Not that you need to know anything about that, but those are like the types of things that like take forever to kind of render and kind of figure out, in tweaking these designs when I'm designing it, just to get all those little types of little things down, so that, it removes more of the tedium when we get to stamping it. We don't have to do like a hat, as much, we can just kind of, okay, that's a little bit of a darker area. If that we're going to coloring the hat, with a couple of different tones, then I can see it's darker in the front. So you just kind of follow that lighting scheme that's already on there, and that makes it a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier for me too. I'm the designer of these things, but I'm also using them too a lot. So I try to take out like as much tedium out of the process in the designs themselves, so I don't have to do it, when I'm stamping it. It makes it an easier process for me. Then say, the extremes would be if these were all like outline designs. And then if I wanted all that variation, I would have to add all that in the coloring process. I'd rather do like little tweaks and do the, changes in values within, certain number of trees, and then the whole design, and lighten, shade my cabins too. You know what I mean? Which might be kind of fun to do, but I don't know. It's that would be a lot of work, to do. It'd be like a big coloring book or something like that, and we wouldn't have all these little details in it like that. So anyway, um, so anyways, yeah, thanks for the orders, by the way. Rachel already ordered there. Stamps. You nearly fainted. Don't faint, Jeannie. We need those feet healing. It's oh, thanks for the likes. So you clicked that, yeah, the vids. Um, oh, okay, yeah. I'll make a note of it, Christina. When do you get back? You want it? You're back like midweek or something like that. You want it? Uh, well, the things wouldn't be shipped out. I'm not gonna get the rubber in probably till like Tuesday or Wednesday, anyways. But if you want me to ship later in the week, let me know. Like it was like a Thursday or Friday type of thing, or later. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. You sent me an email. Okay. Let's see. Oh, you ordered the Greco-Roman with the see that's I didn't even think about that. That'd be awesome with the columns there. Hmm. Reminds me of where I live in Canada. Awesome. Lots of cabins around me. We're going to your place, Donna, if that's what it looks like around you. Someone sent me a photo. Who sent me a photo of their cabin today? Sorry, was that Candy? Sent me a photo of the cabin. It's like, I think one of these is your cabin, Hello, Jen. Yeah, I'm really proud of these designs, Jeannie. I'm learning to use like other textures too on these designs. So I think I really got like this density of trees in here. It got really confusing. Okay, so I learned a lot in the process of these ones. By the way, these are all kind of these piney trees, but I was looking at some photographs and there's like trees like this that are like yellows or like reds or something like that. And you can color these in with like darker greens or black or add greens to them, but you can add these different tones to them. I created some that can be a little bit more deciduous too, in there. Now I didn't do like here's my dilemma as a designer. I was thinking about having some reflections down here, but the thing is that these images were already really big. You know what I mean? So if I did the reflections for some of them down here, some of these forms like in here, we're talking about just a gigantic design, and it would eradicate, the possibility of like three additional filler stamps to have those reflections. Even though the reflections only went down like a half inch, the design would just get too big, so I removed that. But you can do like if you're coloring these things up with a yellow or something like that, or something like that in the reflections right there. Just when you're doing your scenarios, you can add a little bit of tone down of those same colors down here in the reflected areas like that. A little bit of lighting or something like that from those. So, those are the types of little things that choices I had to make on this batch right here. But I'm really happy with these trees and things like that, these little textures in here. If I'm designing all the time, like I have been over these past, like, what is it, like 4 months or whatever, since those, yeah, the desert series, plates came out. If I keep doing this, then I remember what to do. If I go like for a few months in between, I tend to forget about certain things. So I want to keep this rolling while I can. So I remember how to render, certain types of textures and things like that. And I just see designs better doing it that way, because it's a little bit of a different mindset, when you're, just when I'm stamping these things than when I'm just doing the designs themselves. I see the designs better, I know how to render certain things and how to, vary the tones. I'm always talking about varying tones, when you're coloring too. Going from darker, to lighter like that, and and our things like shadows, and we're varying, the beam strength from lighter to, or more opaque to transparent. Those are the types of things that I get better at doing if I'm doing this often enough. So you can see those tones like that are, like nicely shaded. See, there's like a little bit of lighter area right there, but it's darker right there and darker right there. I need to stay in practice with it, So I don't know. I should be like designing all the time, even if it not releasing, immediately or something like that. But yeah, I really like the tonal variations in here and the texturing and all that type of stuff. And plus, I really like these cabins too. The Lakeside cabin has been one of the most popular designs over the years, and I still love using it all the time. I've used it, I don't know, thousands of times probably over the course of the years. So I thought it was time for some new versions of that. Okay, so speaking of this too, these can easily be like a meadow out here. You can put these next to a river. It doesn't have to be next to water either. This could be. I wouldn't put it with cactus, but you can put like a meadow out here or on any of these, and it could just be filled in with whatever rocks or something like that if you want to. It doesn't have to be, in that water. This right here too, it could be like the edge of, some area, it could be overlooking a canyon or something like this. This could be your, you know, like you guys always do. You're always going out like bungee jumping. Well, this person could be looking over like, whatever you want. So don't get locked into the body of water type of thing on really any of these. It can really be anything you want. Um, Hello, Ela. Glad you like it. Thanks. Um, I did, yeah, Candy. I said we're all going to Candy's place for a um, like a scenic stamping retreat. I don't know. I thought your place looked like, I don't know, the setting sure looked like that. I don't know which one looked more like it. Maybe like that one or something like that. You should post that up in on the Facebook group, Candy. It was kind of uncanny, the look of it, her place. It's not a cabin, it's our home on the lake. Well, it's your home, yeah. Well, it's good looking, It's a great looking house. Using all four cabins at once, a big one. You're going to do like a whole kind of a community on a 11 by 17 scenario lender or something like that. Hey, we at that. Okay, so if anyone bought that um, wood grain placemat 11 by 17-inch paper, it's like a tabloid size paper. Wouldn't these cabins be perfect on that? So you can do like a really big scene, on there. Or 8.5 by 11, I think would be really easy with these ones. These ones will really get kind of the foundation established. These things could be stamped back to back too, is like just like in any of the scenarios. Like if you stamp that next to this one right here, that can run along and merge with this one. Like there's a couple cabins or houses like on the that same kind of little, I don't know, whatever you call that, area of land like that. And conversely, you can have like this one and this one back to back, or you can have them opposing, like each other. They live across from each other on that body of water. So yeah, I can't wait to get these in and experiment with that. But like I was saying, the thing that I really enjoy seeing is seeing what everyone else does with them, and you can see it happen too. People will use it, in a couple scenarios that are kind of maybe a little bit more predictable or something like that, or simple, and then all of a sudden you see something used in a completely different way than whatever than I visualized, and then it's like, you know, everyone sees that type of thing and it's like an explosion, you know. I'm talking about where, you know, people are like posting it or something like that on Facebook. I love it. And then, you know, of course, like I said, then there's all those different types of papers on there. These cabins can look really rustic too, so you can use them on the vintage papers. I don't know, you can go Northern Lights above, you know, these types of things too. You know, this type of lighting above. Can you imagine doing that lighting or something like that above something like this? And then you have this stamp down there with those illuminated, you know, windows like that and that type of scenario. I think that should be really fun for some really easy things too, and quick, you know. You know, this type of paper like that. You know, the holographic vinyl sticker papers. Here's the starry one. All right, folks. Let's see. They could be in the middle of a forest. Yeah, exactly. Yo, you live on the river. Perfect. So on the river. Okay, so you can do like. So I have these other river stamps too. You can create these rivers in here. You can probably even put like the old mill behind, like water mills in the distance or something like that. Or okay, so I have you know, every season too. You can put these in like a snowy season too. You know, it's not where snow's like coating the trees, although these ones could be like that. But you know, snowy scenario right in here would be really perfect too, in these pieces. So cabins for all seasons and times of day. I really want. I need to take some photographs of sunsets too, or I just need to download some from the internet. But I want to do some those types of things with these all of these new images, like, you know, the desert scenes, photo stamping, you know, across the, I guess, transitioning colors like that. And I don't know. I really see that too with these cabins like this, with these paddle borders kind of going off there, like in the sunset, you know, like, you know, these characters kind of coming around a bend or something like that, you know. And I think that would be really fun. Or they're going towards a cabin like that. The possibilities are endless. Okay. Went up in price $2 today. Oh, they did, huh? I bet you they're getting a lot more orders for that type of thing, you know. Now, that doesn't surprise me. Okay, now they might come down again too in price, you know, especially on Amazon. But I still think that pack of placemat paper is a remarkable price. Maybe not for placemats, but for any type of stamping surface. You know, that tabloid 11 by 17 size. If anyone ever gets those placemats too, and they order that, it was a pack of, what was it, 50 or something like that, and it's 11 by 17. What I'm getting at is you might get it and there might be a few little bends in the paper or something like that, or, you know, on some corners. Just kind of expect that. So I'm saying that so when you get that stuff in, it doesn't, like, you know, if it's totally, you know, bent or something like that, you know, get it replaced. But just kind of expect that when it's coming in. But you get so much paper, you know, so much, you know, if you're, you know, like card making paper for like really an amazing price. Okay, you got yours, Christine. That's cool. The small hammock reminds me of plain even. Oh, Sharita, you can use it for that. A bear walking past the cabin. Yeah, yeah. That'd be a good one. Or I have that bear and water too. Can you imagine that, you know, that bear and water down here? Oh, you know, I had a little bit of space. I didn't mention this little owl here. So I had this little space in the plate to fill, you know, something in. So I created that little owl right there. I didn't have an owl in the line. So that little owl, it's very silhouette in shape. So I imagine that little owl could be like put right up here, potentially. Or I mean, you know what I mean? Right in front of one of these moons like this. You don't have to stamp out the moons too in black. Okay, that's what it looks like. It'll look like in black. But if you want to do these, you can do that moon. You know what I mean? Like in a lighter color or like a light blue even. And what might be easier to do on this moon too is if you stamp it on a different piece of paper and then cut it out, unless it's going to be behind one of these cabins or something like that. But if it's an isolated object up in the sky or something like that, it might be easier, to do all your colors or textures or something like that, and then just cut this one out. You know what I mean? Rather than masking it. Now, if you mask, you can create a mask for it. You can always keep it with that stamp like that. A round shape post-it note or whatever, and you can always lay it down like that. But if you want to go for some ease, too, just stamp it on something and cut it. Okay, so what I'm getting at too, so I imagine this piece too. I couldn't find glow-in-the-dark paper. I thought that would be easy to find years ago when I started looking for it. But I do have some glow-in-the-dark paint like this. I think what I'm going to do is I think I might lay some of this down. Maybe I'll even, if I'm doing a whole sheet of it, I might brayer this like on the semi-gloss cardstock maybe. I don't want to go with anything too thick, but if I'm laying down a ton of this glow-in-the-dark paint, I might fill up like an 8.5 by 11 of that paint and then stamp a bunch of these moons on there. You know what I mean? Not that I'm going to use them all at once, but just for future use. And have a glow-in-the-dark moon element to add into my scenes. I think that might be kind of fun to do. And plus, I don't want to do that all the time. Or maybe I should do it on sticker paper instead. I have sticker paper. And maybe that would be better to do. I wonder if I can brayer that. I have vinyl holograph. I have vinyl. Or I have some kind of sticker paper that goes through like an inkjet printer. I'm trying to think if it was. I think it was just sticker paper for like making labels and stuff like that. But it's just blank. And I think if I use it on that, that'd be even better. Then I can just have a sticker and stick it. I can make these moon stickers out of whatever colors that I lay down. I thought the glow in the dark would be kind of interesting. The glow in the dark paint too, I think it has a little bit of that warm yellowish tinge to it just inherently, so it might look interesting just without even utilizing it for the glowing aspect of it. So that might be fun to do. All right, I'm gonna have to remember all these things. Okay, let's see. Oh, have a good trip and safe trip, Christine. 2 wood grain papers for the price of 1 in Canada. How did you do that? Well, that's good. 2's better than 1. Our neighbor saw a bear sitting on his upside down rowboat. Oh my gosh. It's so funny. I watch all these videos come across my YouTube feed all the time, but it's always funny seeing like a bear in someone's like backyard swimming pool or jacuzzi or something like that. All right, folks. Fun times ahead. I have one more of the scenes to finish off. Oh yeah, my fisheye looking scene here, scenario. So I don't know why, but these ended up being my my wood, my light beam. I'm thinking about wood now. My light beam. Well, this one doesn't have light beams in it, but it kind of does it with these shadows like this. Not light beams, but elongated, lighting types of scenarios like this. So one more piece to go on these ones from last week. But I really like how all these turned out like this. They're really fun to do. Like I said, I wasn't thinking about... I think I was thinking about the light beams with this one. But, I don't know, they really added to all of them. So... I don't know, like on all your pieces for now on, just add, light beams on everything. But fun stuff. All right. Hey, you're just in time, Megan Els. Uh, you don't have to listen to me very long here. Okay, so we just went and finished this piece right here, and I added in the coloring with dye-based inks. I stamped out the quote in the little focal point here. Dye-based inks, a lot of colored pencils, little alcohol ink pens. Gosh, the kitchen sink was used on this one, and then the acrylic paint pens for these like these little yellowy flowers in here. Okay, and then we added in these light beams in here, and it kind of bringing the piece to life. And then we were just talking about the new sets right here, and I don't know, everyone's giving me some different ideas on how to use those, but these ones will be coming out this next week, so yeah, I just can't wait. On these large pieces, I don't know what people are stamping with your stamp positioners or something like that, but if you're stamping on just a whatever table or something like that with your acrylic blocks, have plenty of cushioning underneath, where you're stamping, and usually stand up or something, get some leverage on. There's a lot of surface area and texture on, and these stamps are fairly large, so there's a lot of surface area on them. Okay, so plenty of leverage when you stamp them out. Don't get stamper's wrist. I mean, that doesn't exist, but I don't know. It seems like possible if you're stamping like all the time, in really large stamps. Okay, so yeah, plenty of cushioning underneath there. All right. Glad you like them, Linda. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of evening. And drop me a note if you have any questions on the designs. Yeah. And really can't wait to see these things used. I can't wait to use those koi fish too with the mystic imagery. You can color them in the shallows and oranges and all kinds of colors, red or whatever, red and white, It'd be like you can do like a $10,000 fish. I don't know. Some of those kois go like for, like extremely expensive amounts. Alrighty. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of evening and weekend. If I'm not back on a live, I might get the urge to finish this last piece off before I get busy this next week with the new plates. Thanks, Rachel.